going to be OpTic taking on Vega Squadron next. Can the Sharks get it done against the green wall, or will they stand up with a mighty defense? Now, OpTic haven't exactly looked in their best shape, at least here, right? They've not been up to standard, and it's been that way for quite a while.
Yes.
I think they've never reached the full potential of the roster.
Yeah.
Now, the reason we say that is because having Yugi and Config, two very explosive and star players within a team under the in-game leadership of Snappy, who was kind of dealing with less praised players, I will say, you know, maybe not as star quality as a Config, as a Yugi, and he was still getting it done on a consistent basis with a good system. Now that they're a team, they have Cajun as the backbone, they have Snappy there as part of that backbone, and now Nico's come in to be, I guess, a bomb site anchor, really. Bit of a role player within the team.
I think Nico's quite good, actually. I think Nico could be a third star in the team, and I mean, it showed yesterday against Big. They all played really well, but that was one of the few times I've seen this OpTic roster play well.
Yeah.
Going back to the major, they look dreadful.
Yeah,
they look really bad at the major. On the other hand, Vega, I mean, they played pretty well in best of ones, and even when they lose rather close games. The only time I can remember them getting blown out is that match against Astralis on Inferno.
Yes.
Other than that, they almost always get 10 rounds, I feel like. So this one could go the distance. I don't see a world where OpTic blows Vega out like they did to Big yesterday, though.
I think that like Vega are like grinders, right? That's kind of because they're so individual with the plays that they make, right? I said it yesterday. It's like chaos is just a pattern we don't understand yet. Maybe they're functioning on a different level that we don't know, right? But when they get the spacing, when someone goes out and gets an opening kill, the way that they're able to swarm a bomb site or like suffocate an area of the map and understand how to play off the territory, their communication must be very good, right? I don't speak Russian, but I assume that it must be pretty good because the way that you see them once territory has been taken, they're good in those moments. They also have individuals who can step up with the multi-frags. I think JR is a very big win condition, obviously the in-game leader and the AWPer, and Chopper as well we see a lot of star impact out of.
Yeah, a lot of up and down performances from Chopper. That first game, I can't recall who they played.
Nowhere to be found. Yeah, he was
MIA in that game. There was the same thing that happened actually when they played Astralis. Actually, he started off against Astralis I think 0-14 or something like that. In that Inferno game they started this tournament, he was 0-8 to kick off. So that's definitely a win condition for them.
Well, the good thing about Chopper, he came into his own a little bit more yesterday, but on his first game was against NRG, and they managed to get 19-17, right? So that was one that went to overtime. Had he performed, they could be in a 2-0 scenario now.
That was an NRG team that had all three of their star players show up.
Yep.
Cirque, Breezy, and Ethan all had monster games, and still Vega took them to OT. It seemed like everything was going against them that game, and still they grinded out a close win. That's what I mean. It's very difficult to blow this team out.
No, I was speaking to Alex, the coach, yesterday, and he basically said that since they take Mir out of the lineup, that there's been a new dynamic for the team. They're approaching things very differently, and he's feeling like the players are a lot more confident in themselves.
Yeah, Mir was the star player of this Vega squadron. It was him and then Chopper. But Mir's playstyle was a lot slower. You know, he would always be coming in with those flanks with the multi-kills or from anchor positions, quite deep. And now he's gone to Gambit, who's also in this tournament. But the new additions of Crush, and the boy on the end there, whose name is Tony Black, used to be known as Kabakan when he played for Na'Vi. They're the two new additions in place of Mia and Kashanda.
He's like the Sopranos version of CS.
It's a pretty cool name, but like I would have just. The thing is,
interesting name. I like it though.
But when you pick an alias, you're kind of stuck with it.
Yes.
That's why I'm stuck with Sponge. I can't change it now. It's not going to happen.
What would you change it to, Sponge?
I just want to be Chad.
You do have that really cool like line signature thing you do. It's just a wave.
Oh yeah. Someone made that logo for me. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know.
You didn't really stick with that though.
Nah, I haven't been really looking at my social media. I maybe need the people at OpTic to take care of it for me. As Yugi's one I want to talk about, right? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I think that Yugi is a very... Does he have like protein powder on the table or something? What? Can we get someone out? Can we get Frankie out there to suss that out? What is that? Anyway, Yugi for me is the player in this team who I want to see more from. And I think that he's a player who needs to be comfortable or feeling confident or at least happy. Because I look at his ups and downs. He's still, getting in a lot of the games above the 1 rating. But I look at him as such a star player for this OpTic team. This is another one of these squads where I look at a G2, Kenny S and Shox, the 2 stars, you build around them. Hellraisers, Voxic and Issa, the exact same story.
Yes.
OpTic for me, Config and Yugi, same situation. Star AWPer can do everything, and then you have Config as a player who can, clutch, he can entry, he can brawl, he can dig, he can do. Both players I think are very dynamic in that regard. If you can get them on the same page and build a good system, that team should be fire.
Now, this was quite some time ago, their heads-to-heads, but they are obviously very different rosters since all that, so you can only take it with a pinch of salt. But either way, Vega does still manage to get it. And their online games, don't know if that was a best of 2 or not, but it could have been just a best of 1s that Vega loves so much.
Yeah, I highly doubt we're going to see Nuke float around in this this best of 1.
Yeah.
As we saw by the map beta or the map pool of Vega earlier, they really only play 3 maps. I mean, they've only played the other 2 maps in their pool 1 time in the last 3 months. So they're looking to get it on Mirage, Inferno, maybe Cash. Obviously, OpTic isn't really a Cash team. They're vetoing it right off the bat. Vega banning Nuke. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see this go down to Inferno.
I think Inferno would actually be a win for OpTic because I think that they can lock out bomb sites, right? I think Mirage can be very snowbally. There's a lot of space that can be taken, and that is more a strength for Vega than it is for OpTic. Whereas if it is Inferno, like we've seen the 5 Mac 10 rush Banana, right? We've seen it.
We have.
We've seen it unfold. And look, it didn't work, but it was a cool idea. But I think OpTic have the individuals in the right places on this map to lock down the CT side at least. The T side is where it can be more drama-filled because you know Vega are going to take more risks. You know, they're going to go for those weird pushes. JR has no issue picking mid with the AWP or repositioning. So those are things that OpTic won't be accounting for in the same way. That's not great, is
rough.
it?
That is rough.
Yeah, they had a 14% win rate when I saw it on that previous screen.
That's not a good number.
Yikes.
Yeah, but
I mean, they are playing good teams close.
and it's close games,
I
right?
guess.
Yeah, the Fnatic one would have been at the major, which means it would have still had Flusher in the team at the time.
Yeah.
So that team was very deflated there. You could see kind of the trajectory of that squad at that time. So that one there is it's a bit more an iffy one. But I picked OpTic in the predictions they asked us to do yesterday. That was where I was kind of leaning towards, and that was before really truly considering the map, but now it has ended up on Inferno. I think I'd be saying in the same way. I think that more structure on Inferno usually wins out.
Yeah, I think I definitely think that OpTic is the team that is probably favored in this matchup. But if you were to ask me, like, if one team is going to blow out the other team, I think Vega would blow out OpTic.
Yes.
And I don't see a world where OpTic blows out Vega in this matchup. So, like, part of my brain wants to also side towards Vega because of that.
Now you got the loot bet. Promo code SLTV if you want to go and place your bets over there. The thing that I am kind of concerned about is that if Vega get off to a good start, they put the pressure on OpTic, will they just crumble like we've seen them do before? Because you would think they wouldn't, given the experienced players they've got on there, but this roster we've just seen lackluster results from them.
Yeah, it's a weird one still, right? Because OpTic should be better than they are,
Yeah.
or at least they should be performing on a level better than they do. I just quickly brought up the pistol win percentage right now for Vega on this map, and it's not actually that bad. It's almost 60%, right? So they've played 17 games, so that's a total of 34 pistols, and they've won 60% of it, and they've only got a 14% win ratio. So that's
Yikes.
that's curious. You're winning a lot of pistols, you're not winning the games.
I'm telling you, Chopper usually has very lackluster performances on Inferno, and I think that's why they struggle, especially on T side. Because he's the guy that they send to Banana a lot of the time, and that's how he started 0-14 against the Charles, 0-8 earlier in this tournament against NRG. So I think they need to find more ways to incorporate him into the map because he's such a win condition for this team.
Archie married? Did he have a wedding band on? I don't know which finger it goes on. Sean, you're the expert on this one. I don't know.
Left hand.
I wasn't paying attention to the hand. I should have been. I think it was his mouse hand, so definitely not. It was right hand.
I don't know if I could place yes with a ring on my mouse.
I don't think I could either, unless I was looking at it the wrong way. Maybe the,
I'd definitely
the
take all
cameraman
my rings
definitely
off
can't
for
hear
it.
us.
No, he's
And
not.
if he could, I don't think I have enough Russian in my vocabulary to tell him to look at Hutchie's finger.
Maybe just shout marriage at him a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe it
we'll
goes
see what
in,
happens.
see
But
if he realizes.
I think if OpTic start on the CT side and just lock them out, well, actually, no, I don't see them being able to just lock them out, right? Like, I can see like a 9-6 half because of those brawly rounds we're talking about from Vega. All it's going to take is one player stepping out of apps with like a CZ and getting 2 kills, and that being like a money-breaking round. Like, I can see, oh, they corralled them. That was
How
cool.
does that happen? I've
Yeah,
never-
they ran past for one dude, and they just like swamped up behind him.
This was an interesting life, at least.
Yugi now 45 HP, gets the tag, but Chopper with the ace. No, he didn't actually get an ace. I don't know how many kills he got, but it just
3.
it sounded good.
It
All
did
right.
sound good.
It was in the moment. You felt it, didn't you, Chad?
When Chopper wins a clutch, they should have like a tagline. It should be like, "Get to the chopper," but they should all say it like Arnie, and that should be their thing that they do when he wins a round.
Yeah. They could use the word chopper like rappers use it for AK-47.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm not gangster enough to
Yeah,
do that thing.
that completely went over my head.
Yeah.
How much gangster rap you listening to?
Yeah, look
Quite
at
a bit,
Sean.
actually,
Quite a
man.
bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean on the
That new
slide,
Weezy
repping that
album
Thug
bumping.
life.
What?
Weezy album.
Who?
Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne chat.
I know Lil Wayne. I didn't know.
I'm about to
Weezy-
get up and leave this.
All I
desk.
remember is like, because we're all very similar ages. I remember
Yeah.
when like, oh, for you it'd be different because you couldn't go out club until 21.
Oh yeah.
But in our part of the world, it was like, what was that song?
We started a lot younger.
There was obviously Soldier Boy.
Yep.
Um,
That was awful.
there was To the Window. Who's that
Oh,
one? Who was that one?
Lil Jon.
Apple Bottom Jeans.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
No, that's a different
That's
one.
a different one.
Apple
I'm getting
Bottom-
triggered. I'm getting triggered.
They're all
Can we
bangers.
focus on
They're all
it?
12 bangers, man. Like not the type of clubs I was going to. I'm more of a bar type of guy. But yeah, I'm sure people at pubs are pretty big.
Sean has just sat there, just completely unhappy of our decision making.
Are they not good? They're not good gangster
No,
rappers.
you're not really dropping bangers from back in the day.
Yikes! All right.
But I don't know what's going on in Australia. Can't really.
Well, the only bangers I want to hear out of both of your mouths at the moment is your predictions going into this game.
I'm just going to side with OpTic. I think that Sean made a very good point about this is a map where Chopper does go missing, and I think that he will probably go missing again.
I'm actually flip-flopping here. I'm going Vega.
Damn.
Ooh, okay.
I think they can steal this map. They're probably going to start CT side since they won that knife.
Yep.
I have faith that Chopper will start
Please.
a lot better.
Yes, he needs
His
to.
problems are typically on the T side, so let's hope he can get in a good start here.
There you go, gets that confidence boost on CT side and takes it forward. But it is time to get into the game and get this underway. The question is, can the Sharks of Vega ride the waves over the green wall, or will it be OpTic closing it out and keeping up their defensive? Harry and Vendetta, take it away.
I like that imagery there, you know, the Sharks of Vega over the green wall, riding the waves.
I think James might have been watching too many Sharknado movies.
Yeah.
I mean, they do some crazy stuff in those ones.
They do. You know, I'm a big fan of Sharknado. Probably one of my
As
top.
big of a fan as Chad is into gangster rap?
Yeah, you know, you can tell how into it he was.
Oh,
He-
yeah.
I mean, I don't
He
even.
listed all the bangers.
I think he only listed like one song that maybe would even fit into that category at push, right? Like it was more just like kind of hip hop, like. But okay,
I mean, yeah.
we can get behind it. Regardless, yeah, we're about to head into this one, Halvor, and you know, who do you see taking this one? It's Inferno. Vega looked good on here versus NRG.
Vega
Not
just seemed to
perfect,
like,
but-
Vega just seemed to like be around every time Inferno is played. They rarely get just outplayed severely. They did obviously have a bit of a rough go of it versus Astralis, but seemingly everyone has a rough go versus them. But you know, taking Fnatic to the bitter end, all 30 rounds, we saw them go to overtime versus Energy. I am favoring and I am leaning towards OpTic, but I don't see it being, you know, a whitewash. I don't see them just running away with it completely. The one thing that worries me a little bit is what Sean mentioned, the fact that Chopper, one of the, you know, definitely the best performing players for Vega at the major, he has a tendency to kind of dip out, especially on Inferno. Last time around versus Energy, we saw it was Tony Black and Hoochie actually to lead the charge. I don't think that's something you can consistently rely on if you're Vega Squadron. So, yeah, they need to have their star players shining in that sense. And so a lot of pressure is going to fall on JR and Chopper.
And then you look at this OpTic roster, and I'll be honest, I haven't actually seen much of these guys play just yet. And you know, I mean, just the names on this team, though, should be enough to excite you, right? You take a look.
It should be
You've
a
got,
brilliant
you got,
team.
yeah, exactly. You got Config in there. You got Nico as well. You know, two kind of Nico, of course, coming off the back of a few changes here and
He's
there.
been
but,
tossed around like
he definitely has. And then you know, same sort of thing. Yugi as well was that big promise back in Heroic and. You know,
yeah.
I mean, he was fantastic. It was quite a big deal, obviously, you know, when he kind of ended up leaving that team. Everyone thought maybe they'd fade out, but that hasn't happened. Anyway, look, we're back into the pistol around here, Halvor, and taking a look at this buy. 2 kits bought up for Vega. Interesting choice. Very rarely do we see that happen.
A lot more utility than, I guess, normally. Normally, it's one player to take the hit, buying Diffuse Kit, and then utility as well. This time, it's both Chopper and Crush doing so. Smoke already been deployed towards Banana. But yeah, this might be why they're opting to go with more utility, because they are kind of cheat rotating. And as I say that, Tony actually backs off back towards B again. But actually, they have both the utility, or the utility left is over towards that A bomb side. That's where OpTic's going to find themselves. She opens up things nicely. Chopper's going to chime in as well. Nico finds one to return, though. Find a second one, though. That's not going to go well for Chopper, and Config finally chimes into the round as well. He's going to be probably the most vital player on the side of OpTic here in this matchup. Bomb goes down. 2v3, and those kits you mentioned, they're all but gone here. I mean, there's still a chance for Vega to pick them up, but
Yeah, they're going to be dropped over here inside of this bomb site, but Snappy finding a JR up in the apartments now leaves all the pressure on to Tony Black. And 1v3, he might just...
hold on to his armor. He hasn't taken any damage yet, so he can potentially upgrade, but as I say that, Nico executes him, and he can't really come back from a headshot. There we go. So nice start from OpTic. We did see them have a pretty impressive showing versus Big last time around. They played Inferno, which was yesterday, 16-2 there. So I mean, for all the ups and downs, and I mean, I guess compared to the expectations we've had out of OpTic, they haven't seemed too impressive. But you know, 16-2ing Big is no easy feat by any means. So that might be a tell. You know, they're actually going towards the right direction at least. That's what you want out of this team because, yeah, they do have too many talented players on this roster to not do better.
Yeah, I mean, there was kind of times where there's talks of Config being one of the best players in the world, right?
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
you remember he kind of was just sat out for the longest period, having to watch all these other Danish teams rising up, and there's he out in NA. It's like, oh, well, you know, but...
made his way back to Denmark, or at least with Danish players all around him. Nice little... play around the smoke from JR is going to dink Config down to 40 HP. Means second man in line is going to show up as Snappy. It's still going to be Yugi actually to find the first back. He's going to find both. All right, through the smoke. That seems to be no hindrance for him. They might be suspecting a stack here, but little do they know. The rest of Vega Squadron still pretty much over towards that A bomb site. Only one rotation coming in from Chopper. OpTic just taking their sweet time here. Obviously, it makes sense. You don't want to throw away a round like this, especially with the start you've had. Not taking too much damage on anyone. Obviously, you want to get those 2 bonus rounds after winning the pistol. We saw CyberSen not getting the benefit of that in their game just before this. That kind of spiraled out of control.
Well, OpTic, they were setting up heading towards A, but you take a look at your map, you see Snappy, he's cleared out the B bomb site, he's read that this stack has come on in. KGB is going to stick around over here towards A.
Well, he does have a UMP, so maybe looks to rack up some kills, earn some extra money. To be fair, pretty much everyone on OpTic is rocking an SMG. Only Nico is fully upgraded in that sense. Chopper does spot up Snappy. Snappy gets tagged down pretty heavily as well, so he needs to back out. No more money making for you. There we go. Config getting into it once more from Vietnam. But no real interest from OpTic to actually make the most out of the weaponry, I guess, in that sense. And to be fair, I mean, if you go down, it's still going to cost you more than whatever you gain from potentially mowing down a player or 2 on the side of Vega. And knowing that it's not going to be the best of investment from Vega going into the next round, you stand another chance to make more money there. So definitely can't fault them for this. Everybody going to survive. They're going to feel good about that. As for Vega, they, I guess, can be happy about surviving with 2 players. They get to bring in that armor into the next round. Hopefully do something more as the game goes on.
Yeah, we know these Vega guys certainly have it in them to make these Inferno games close. That's always what it feels like, though, whenever you kind of take a look at Vega on this map. Never fantastic at actually winning, but always great at making it a close game.
Definitely.
Maybe not the best skill to have, but they're a great team to watch in that regard, perhaps. Now, Chopper and Hoochie, they were able to carry that armor, the PT-50 and CZ forward. JR's over here. And, yeah, he's going to find one somehow. So Config hasn't really been having the best time of things. Once again, going to be the first and only man to fall for OpTic, at least thus far.
There we have Chopper going down. So that's one of the players with some saved armor and weaponry going down. OpTic stabilizing after Config going down to JR. It's a good time from JR, though, seemingly having his aim on point early on in the game. Could be dangerous for OpTic as they move forward. So right now, Crows just made his way down into this mid here. He's going to find Nico, and that's the bomb dropped as well. So even though Cajun is able to clear out Tony as he pushes out, he's going to have to deal with Crush, who's creating all kinds of havoc here. Now he's the sole member alive as well. He has picked up an AK, doesn't have armor, so aim punch could come into play here, but does have the benefit of being a bit in the dark here. Yugi and Snappy have no idea as to where he actually is, and he might get the drop on them both. Well, doesn't quite pan out, but still damage done to the side of OpTic. Those kind of situations can get really scary. Bomb dropped far, far away from where you've actually intended to end up. And if you're not too careful, that can easily go the wrong way. Odds from Lupet, obviously going to be favoring OpTic. I mean, you can't blame them too much for that. Does make sense. They've also got enough to the start they wanted. It remains to be seen what Vega can actually dish out. JR is going to have that op in hand. Chopper actually opting for an MP9. I'm assuming he dropped off then a weapon, even though we did see JR pretty much just sitting with pistols, or USP, and Nikos. Tempo here from OpTic though.
Yeah, they're setting the pace. They're setting a message as well. Now Snappy's the man to open up, but Uchi still down in the pit here. Does take a while to spring into action. Chopper barreling through that smoke. He's gone down as well. So this round already looks over for Vega. Just JR and Tony Black left up. There to find themselves 2 on 4. There should be absolutely no way back into this round. And you can kind of see that now. JR falling away. Tony Black doesn't really want to overextend, so he's going to look to try and leave as well. And OpTic setting the pace, sending a message, and going to be looking good as they pick themselves up a 4th round. I'm a big fan of that call there.
Definitely.
T side.
Not allowing Vega any sort of breathing room at all. Just get put into action immediately. They're definitely not ready for it. Don't get to set up in proper crossfires or get the utility down that they want. OpTic pretty much figuring out that speed is power in this scenario. Once again, though, there is a bit of a silver lining for Vega Squadron in the fact that they do manage to hold on to 2 weapons. So still room for JR here to potentially do a lot of work. Getting aggressive, whether it's towards Banana or maybe peeking down mid, remains to be seen. It's obviously going to fall on him or Tony to leave Vega with at least a little bit of a chance to pick up their first round.
JR with this all going to be focusing his attention at least over here towards Banana. Keeping an eye on the top of that half wall. Isn't going to get peeked into just yet, but one man does reside over there, and that's Config. He's gone ahead and worked himself up towards the half wall. In the meantime, though, there's a bit of action going to go down here between Cage and B. And 2 players for the Vega squad. That there is the opener netted early on for this OpTic side. Nothing in the way of trades in response from Vega. Now OpTic with this comfortable 2-man advantage, going to set their sights over here towards this B-bomb site. The one thing, though, that is going to go the way of Vega if this push comes in is this is where JR and Tony Black both reside. And these are the 2 players, you know, one with the AWP, one with that M4, the 2 rifles that were carried forward. Smoke still up on Tony Black as well. So OpTic, if they take a little too long here, maybe we see them have to change their mind, although that wouldn't be the worst decision. Let's Crush, and the other man is all the way down in alt mid. He's wrapping on round from behind. Now the push looks to come on in. It's Tony Black and JR looking to try and hold back the Danes, but no, it's all a ruse. They fall away, turning their attention back towards this A bomb site. And now Crush, this feels like it should be impossible. He's got a PT-50 and a pocket full of dreams. Let's see if he can realize any of them now as he does let the players cross now, just slipping on in. He's going to get spotted, does manage that first, and attempted trade from Yugi. He's bought a little bit of time, though, and he has done some damage onto the AWP for OpTic as well. Now finished off by Config, so just JR and Tony Black alive. Save call comes back in. These guys going to look to try and hold on to this once more. OpTic moving up 5-0 here. And getting off to a fantastic T-side start on Inferno.
Absolutely so. Tony, as much as he's been able to hold on to his weaponry, he's yet to actually land a single shot onto any bullets. I think a 0 ADR 5 rounds into the game. Not the start you wanted. He was also one of the vital parts for this Vega Squadron team that managed to grab OT. Versus Energy. Config definitely interested in actually doing some damage here. Tony's not going to oblige. There we have it, 5-0. But Bai coming in on the side of Vega Squadron at least, so might see a bit more resistance from the Russian-Ukrainian squad. There we go. I guess we can keep in mind as well that Vega versus Energy, they did get off to a pretty rough start on the CT. No, well, I guess that was on the T side for them, but they started off both halves rather slow.
Yeah, they do seem like a bit of a team that likes to build up into things. That said, you know, NRG as well, it did feel like, you know, in that game,
Didn't play their best.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I do think they're going to have a tougher time of things here up against OpTic, who look to be firing on all cylinders early on. Now a double nade stack down towards the base of Banana. That's going to land massive damage onto Config, and you can see the effect that's had. OpTic now a little bit worried as to what this Banana might hold in store. Tony Black's worked himself into the little cubby here, and the deep smoke allows him to maintain this position for the time being. He has JR over at Car to help him out. Maybe the end game here going to try and set him up on the half wall, and that does look to be the case. They boost him up, and now that means that when you saw Tony, he was looking like he was going to rotate away, but he's opted instead to stick around and help out New York before Vega. Flashes raining in, Snappy pushing on up, and JR's going to get away with that frag, just gets around the corner in time. It's a man advantage gained here for Vega Squadron, and no reply just yet from OpTic.
Even still, OpTic decided to stick around in Banana, going to toss out 2 smokes. Probably trying to sell a bit of a B fake here, not going to commit any players into it though, but it does keep both players on the side of Vega still towards that B-bomb side. You can also see that Crush is in a bit of a halfway position. He's actually going to rotate in towards the library, so I can't really say that the fake on the side of OpTic did all that much. Double setup in pit here might not be expected. Uji's going to be able to land one, but gets taken out through the smoke. Crush needs a big here, but he's only able to find Cajun, and that means Bomb is going to go down. 2v2 situation. Config has been tagged down pretty low, but has gotten into a pretty good position as well. And I mean, if you can aim like that, who needs HP? That leaves JR. Started off the round so well for Vega. Now he needs to clutch it out. If it's going to mean anything at all.
Right. But he has spotted Config, and now just one man left to try and contend with. It's Nico. Time ticking down, though, for JR. He knows he has to be fast, and he's going to spot the man out. But Nico holding his own in the 1v1. It keeps his cool and locks in that 6th round there for OpTic. Going to be fist bumps and smiles all around here for this Danish roster. They're going to be feeling happy about that, not letting JR start to get warmed up. I feel like that's going to be pretty important if you want to keep Vega on the back foot.
Definitely so. Right now, one of the things we saw from Vega that kind of worked out for them on the CT side was basically being a bit intrusive to whatever was going on the T side. Now we see actually a bit of hint to that. Double up's coming out, and JR is all the way pushed down into mid. If you can spot anything out towards second mid, and Hoochie has gone aggressive in apps as well. It's going to leave them with an opening for once. Weren't able to capitalize on it in the previous round, but might be a bit of a change of pace this time. 3-man setup for B as well. JR has missed Config on the edge. He's going to get into a duel with Yugi. He's going to win that out as well. I think starting to brighten up here for Vega. 2-man advantage. Still plenty of utility on the side of OpTic. They seem very intended on going towards B still here. Little do they know, though, Vega's already set 3 players to defend this. Well, that's going to give away at least 2 other players. That's double smoke. Bit of a mistake for Vega, but they do at least have the manpower to allow for those kind of mistakes to happen. Again, similar kind of fake from OpTic here as they did in the previous round. No one really in forward positions over towards A, but again, it keeps players from Vega. Vega are really reluctant to actually make any sort of rotations mid-round here. Crush not in an ideal position for an op.
Well, he's got to try and make it work regardless. Does have Hoochie here to try and help him out. Crush falls, and now just Hoochie tagged down low and finished off by Snappy. 15 seconds left, and that's going to be them under too much pressure. JR swooping in to save the day. And Vega Squadron will be fighting themselves their first round, largely on the back of the man with the big green gun. It's going to be them finally finding a bit of success here on their CT side, but we need to see more. Notably, Tony Black not off to the best of starts. You've just pointed at 2.1 ADR thus far, still yet to field a frag, and a tactical pause called on in. Now here's something that's scary. You think back to that performance versus NRG, the man who was top in the charts, the man who was top of the board for Vega was Tony Black, and Chopper falling almost completely silent in that game there. It seems to maybe be a bit of a repeat of that from him. He struggled to get going. The bigger issue, though, is is Tony Black, right? I mean, still yet to feel the frag. There's still time for this to turn around, but it's 6-1. We need to start to see that recovery. We need to see some more confidence from him here if Vega want to stand any chance.
Yeah, he's been left in a bit of an awkward situation where he has to rotate between bomb sites, not really get into the thick of things a lot of the time. Yeah, pretty much just having a stray nade being the entirety of your damage up to this point is not ideal 7 rounds in. We'll see, though. Doesn't take a lot to improve on what he's been able to put out so far, and that's at least a positive for Vega if he decides to get into things. And once again, 3-man setup here over towards Banana. Finally getting more proactive about bringing it to OpTic, and that's really what they need as well. They need to make OpTic feel uncomfortable. JR not going to fall back off of that flash either. It's going to lead to another opening frag from the Ukrainian Alper. OpTic's not had the best of times whenever he's tried to venture up Banana here so far.
Yeah, that is very true. Now, they're trying to set up this crossfire. This bait. Oh, no, never mind. Yugi. Well, that's that B-bomb site now looking absolutely mouth-watering here to OpTic. They found themselves the equalizer, dropping JR. It's a very, very late trade coming in from Yugi. And now they're setting up. There's still only one man there. It's going to be Tony Black inside of B. The rest of Vega going to try and aggress down through middle. This is a very high risk, high reward sort of play. And Cage and B going to go ahead and shoot down at Chopper. Now Crush going to try and take up the mantle. The only good thing is they believe this is clear. I don't think they anticipate that you'd push a second man down through middle. So Crush at least has dispatched of Yugi, has dealt with the AWPer over on the side of OpTic, and now can just back away, knowing that they're back into this 3-on-3. But it's Cage and B up in the apartments. Wrapping on round. There's the replay of that. But Cage and B going to be taking the fight versus Crush. Bomb now looks to go down. And Tony Black and Uchi so far away, they're just going to have to save, in all honesty.
Tony's never going to be part of this game, it seems like.
It does, yeah. I mean, like, it's not even through lack of trying at this point. It's just, I mean, you've seen, I think, maybe like 4 people, and I think they've killed him every time. But that's always a bit sad.
Yeah. Like a Counter-Strike version of Mr. Bean right now. Wrong place, wrong time. Well, OpTic, they do manage to get through that, but we saw like the most Vega Squadron move we could ever see. 2 people just at random pushing down middle without any real clearance. And I mean, it nearly works out as well, even though Chopper goes down early on. It allows for Crush to get back there. If he could have followed up on the aggression behind Yugi, obviously that could have been even worse for OpTic. He decides to play it safe. Eventually gets caught up by Cajun, who wants to go the long route through apartments. That could have been a success story for Vega as well. And it's hard to plan for if you're OpTic. Obviously, you can see Yugi's definitely not expecting it as he comes running down Banana. And it's those kind of instances that usually lead to swing rounds that Vega actually benefit from, but not this time around. OpTic stabilize, and Vega, well, I'm going to get a buy-in, but it's not the greatest one. MP9, FAMAS, UMP, M4, and an AWP. Luckily for them, though, JR has been the most active player on their side, and he is the one donning the strongest weapon. Tries his luck to get the timing right on the flash into second mid there. Doesn't connect with any shots, and now we're finally seeing something from Vega. They've been active in Banana, getting Banana control, and left Tony Black as the sole defender over towards B, and that means there's a 4-man defense here on the side of Vega towards A.
Yeah, Uchi's gone up into the apartments. And actually, JR's there to find one. The MP9 now roaring to life, and JR from Graveyard. Looks like a dead man walking, but Yugi, once again, another wallbang to go ahead and best the AWPer on the side of Vega Squadron. Crush able to trade with this UMP and looking for a little bit more, but Snappy answers back, and ultimately, frags going left and right. It's Nico left in a 1v2. He starts to push on in. Gonna get spotted by Tony Black over towards short, and Chopper finishes things off. Vega Squadron will hold on. They will find themselves a second round, and we start to see things fall into place a little bit more for them there. The crossfire's looking good. Fantastic stuff as well from JR.
Yugi seemingly know every angle through a wall.
I mean, it misses the easy shot and then hits the wall bang headshot. Why not?
The ones that are not supposed to work, but you'll take it. Doesn't lead to a round, though, unfortunately, for OpTic. They've got plenty to work with already. 7 rounds early on in the going of the first half. This does mean that Vega do survive the scare of the force buy after being reset. Still not out of the woods by any means. Uchi, though, got into an aggressive position. He's not been spotted out by Snappy here, so this could lead into a pretty easy kill.
That's the thing, that now they know that he's here, and with so many players around the apartments, this could both be a blessing and a curse for Vega. Cajun B able to go and get the trade. So we will at least see it into a 3-on-4, courtesy of Cajun. Config going to be smoking off the long side.
Tony Black is tucked into a corner here.
This could be his first kill, his chance to get on the board. Config, does he go through this smoke? He's a pretty ballsy guy, likes to try and go for these...
high-risk plays.
Yeah, but he's going to decide against it. Wants to play things smart. Doesn't want to go ahead and potentially give away a free kill. So he will just wait for the time being. Still JR holding Banana solo, and this has been the real kind of silver lining for Vega, is this extra man over here towards this A bomb site. We saw it help them out massively in the previous round. It looks like it could do it again here as Yugi and Config making noise. Going to go ahead and boost Config up, and they get flanked by Tony Black. The trade's there. Now the bomb has been spotted. 25 seconds, and OpTic have to make their mind up. They're looking indecisive, but they settle on this A bomb site. You have to get past Chopper. He's able to find one. Crush in with the trade. Vega straight back with a third round as they chain together 2 in a row.
Yeah, we're seeing Vega having success by being much more active on their CT side. Starts off obviously with Hoochie sneaking in towards CPL and finding Snappy, but at the same time you had Crush pushing or standing aggressively in apps, so it's kind of to just cover the back of Hoochie so he can get a safe passage back out, potentially, if he doesn't net a kill. But eventually it just ends up being 2 openings for Vega, and you'll definitely take that. And I think that's the key as well. You see OpTic in that kind of situation, they do get a bit flustered. They don't know exactly where they want to go with it or where they want to finish the round. If you do that quite often, you're going to get a couple of rounds on that CT side if you're Vega.
Well, here's that return to a blistering pace from OpTic. They charge in towards this A bomb site. Hoochie down in the pit has to hold his own, and they all line up for him. He's going to manage himself too. Snappy left in this 1v3 will be able to get the bomb down. He's given a few seconds of silence in which to try and move into a good post-plant position. He's going to plant for short, and now sits in the graveyard. There are still incendiaries up on Vega, smokes as well, so plenty of utility to make him have to work from this position. And they're asking a lot of Snappy here. 1v3, peeks on over. He's been spotted. They don't know exactly where he is, and that Molotov now reigns in to finish things off. Vega locking in their 4th. So we've seen a real turnaround, a real switch flipped in these last few for the Vega Squadron CT side. And this is now maybe a bit reminiscent almost of that game versus NRG. The slowest of starts, and now the biggest of turnarounds.
Yeah, building back into it. And I mean, we have to consider, even with the strong start that we saw out of Energy versus Vega, Vega managed to get an 8-7 half. I mean, they won out that half somehow, some way. And there's still an opportunity to do so here. Obviously, they're playing on the CT side this time around, but, you know, they'll take what they can get for the time being. On the OpTic side, it's only going to be Deagles. That's the investment. Chopper just quickly checking in on what's going on in the second mid. He's going to spot out a couple of OpTic players. And decides not to do anything further with it for now, though. Config again, just being the recipient of so many nades. It feels like he started out most of the rounds with at least 40 damage taken to his name. Cajun Apps hoping to find someone with a pre-fire. Now, Vega Squadron player, though, in sight. Chopper being boosted up here on the ledge in quad. Now we're going to see the actual attack coming in from OpTic. They have 1 flash on Snappy. That's going to be, hopefully, the golden flash of all flashes to get JR at least out of position. Usually he's been hanging around to at least get 1 shot while blind. Then it's also going to be an opportunity for OpTic to gain some ground there, as he's going to be late to rotate away. Smoke goes down. Good timing. It's actually going to prevent him from getting a shot in as well. There's no smoke for the crossover, and they still have to deal with Tony. Oh, Tony spotted Snappy's gun barrel as well. And OpTic have absolutely nowhere to go with 30 seconds left.
Yeah, these rotations have already come in, and just trying to win the aim duels with the Deags is not panning out for OpTic in this situation. Crush has been boosted up. And this should just be a Vega round now. There should be absolutely no way back into this for OpTic. No smoke for the cross, as you say. No utility to try and force any of these fights. And Config's going to manage one. Okay, Snappy now chiming in. with another Danish Deegs looking deadly, but Crush raining down death from above, going to go ahead and finish off the last 2 remaining players. So a 5th round on the board for this CT side. Vega Squadron turning it around in these last few. And, you know, we mentioned in their game versus NRG, they went down
2-7?
Yeah, 2-7
2-6
early on. And were able to go ahead and win out that half, right? So could we see a similar story here at this time on their CT side? As now they're just 3 rounds away from that fact. Going to be rifles across the board from OpTic. No AWP out on Yugi. JR really has been... he was the hero early on, but now it feels like the rest of the team started to rally to the call behind him. He was kind of the guy, you know, raising those hopes, getting everyone in the game, and now we see Tony Black starting to move up that scoreboard a little bit. Hoochie and Crush as well, putting up the numbers. Here's JR round in the corner at Banana, and he's been great at finding them the man advantages here, namely onto Config, and once again, history repeats itself.
But it's odd to see that OpTic keep having the same approach, because surely they would have had to realize at this point that no nade is going to actually scare JR. He's going to stick to that forward position until he actually fires off a shot. And every single time, it's only Config alone up in Banana. He's never able to find any sort of a trade on it. And OpTic just put themselves in a terrible position to lose an opening frag every single round. There we go. What JR suddenly turning 90 years old and not reacting to what's going on the screen.
That's good. That is probably, you know, one of the easier shots of his career, and it's the one that he misses. He's hit some nutters today. But here we go. Tony Black barreling through that smoke on the back of the flash from Crush. Sadly, he's the one who ends up getting toppled. Now this bomb still yet to go down for OpTic is going to be retrieved and planted by Nico. Chopper walking through that smoke into the arms of Cajun. A little bit ballsy, perhaps not anticipating anyone to be keeping an eye on it, but did only just plume, so maybe a little overzealous on his behalf. And now Crush and Hoochie just going to have to back away. OpTic will dig deep and find themselves an 8th round here on the back of a nice double from Cajun B.
Just very weird. That's obviously looks silly to watch from JR's perspective, but that could be, you know, one of those moments where he's looking at the radar. It's just that moment of lapse in concentration. Allows Nico to sneak by.
The one thing I will say is, you know, even though the frag goes the way of OpTic, right, it really shouldn't have. You know, that should have been JR's. And the worrying thing is you look at how much utility OpTic have. You think about, you know, oh, if only there was another Danish team on Inferno that's really good. And one of the things that, you know, we maybe could talk about would be their utility usage.
Yeah.
These OpTic guys, I mean, you look at it, there was what, 3 Molotovs left? You know, there was nades. There was plenty of everything to try and deal with JR, try and make it awkward for him over towards the top of Banana. And they're fortunate that they get away getting it so cleanly, maybe being the wrong word, because they do lose config. But, you know, they get it, you know, pretty much for free in terms of how much utility they're putting into it.
Yeah.
But you can't rely on JR missing shots every round, as he's proven to us time and time again.
Yeah, he's been a vital part. Even though we haven't seen necessarily that many multi-kill rounds from JR, he's been finding an opening kill. And that's really all you can ask for early on in Banana, especially because OpTic haven't done a really good job of potentially putting pressure on afterwards. So it eases up your job a whole lot. And yeah, for opening duels, JR 5-0. I'm curious as to what config is sitting at. He's sitting at 0-4, yeah, because one of those openers was onto Snappy. But it is kind of a pattern repeating itself continuously over towards Banana.
Oh, this time, there's no AWP over on the side of Vega. That
there
is
going to
be
config.
Yeah, he's going to be given a little bit more room to play around with his config. Finally, we can see Yugi and that man in question config up here towards Banana once again. Old habits dying hard, but not as hard as Tony Black as he falls. And now JR forced to try and fight for his life, but in response, Chopper's gone aggressive down through mid, does manage that 1 kill. Going to now look to try and form a hasty retreat as alt mid gets given up on the back of Hoochie going down. But OpTic still sitting pretty with the man advantage in this round. Vega going to be doubling up over here inside of the A-bomb site. That leaves JR all on his lonesome to defend B. And that's a tall order. You're asking a lot of the man. You can see Chopper and Crush looking a bit curious as to what mid might have in store. And we saw they're more than willing to try and make their way down, grab this information.
We've done it once this round. And Chopper, and yeah, as you mentioned it, they might actually venture down here. That's going to be the play. And depending on how long time OpTic actually spends fiddling around outside of B, could be the absolute end of them. Oh, and they go. JR's going to win out the duel versus Config again. Finds Nico, too. These are late trades, and look at that. Chopper's pretty much rushing in to be with OpTic. I mean,
yeah, that was the perfect answer to that question, right? From the OpTic posing, the man advantage game, they all disappear, and then you have your Vega, you're sat there, you've made the decision to double up. They don't see anyone over on A. You see those smokes raining in towards B, and they think, you know what? We'll just try and challenge them down in mid. It's worked a few times, and it works for them there pretty brilliantly as well. Also, very well done from JR to find those first two and actually stay alive long enough. If he'd gone down straight away, it would have been a very, very different round, because suddenly OpTic are inside of that B bomb site. The bomb goes down. For OpTic, it's back to the drawing board and back to a pretty poor buy here. 2 rifles between Config and Yugi.
Not how you want to close out the round, is or half, is it? And yeah. OpTic not looking especially impressive on how they actually go about these takes towards B either. I mean, yeah, great job by JR, but again, not a whole lot of synergy in terms of how they follow up on each other on the side of OpTic. JR gets 2 1v1s pretty much to start things off, and at that point he's done his job. Config again, going into Banana, losing a lot of HP and getting very little for it. The Molotov this time around, that did most of the damage. We're going to swap around weapons. And also, a lot of the time when OpTic are doing this, when they're focusing so heavily on Banana, they aren't doing a great job of potentially shutting off other sides of the map if Vega wanted to venture off on adventures, which they have done a fair bit already on the CT side. As you can see right now, it's only really Cajun over towards, and well, if you can even call it towards the A area of the map. There we go. JR's going to move forward. He's going to find Yugi. That's one of the rifles down. It's going to get picked up by Nico. And JR feels absolutely no fear.
Yeah, he's gone back for more. How have they let him just keep peeking into this? He's been so good at finding these openers. Oh my goodness, a 3rd time around. He's going to get hit by the smoke and forced off the angle. Now they try and boost up, but JR has been tearing OpTic a new one. It is just going to be Snappy and Cajun B left alive. Tony Black is there. And along with Crush, they're going to go to cement that 7th round for Vega. Somebody on this team needs to give JR a mighty pat on the back. He's 6-0 and opening duels for them. And just time and time again, the man to kind of open things up for this CT side, constantly putting them at a man advantage, it felt like, towards the latter end of that first half.
And it does surprise me how easily OpTic are allowing for this to happen as well. I mean, so many times JR is doing this constant re-aggression without any sort of utility help as well. So he's walking into potentially, you know, just certain death if people are aware of it. And when it happens, you know, not just the 2nd time or the 3rd time, but the 4th and 5th, someone on OpTic needs to be aware, like, okay, whenever we leave a bit of room over towards that B area, JR can very easily push out and actually just try to be disruptive. And they're just not responding to it very well at all. So Vega, I mean, starting off, what, 1-7? And still being able to get back to a 7 to 8 half, that's absolutely brilliant from their end. There we go, Vega. They're going to keep up the tempo. They're moving towards Banana. That's where Config is, and he's all alone. He needs to, well, actually, I say that. Snappy's there as well. They need to come up big, though. Excellent opener, but quick return from Tony Black here. It was quite throughout the better part of the first half. Immediately makes his mark on the 2nd one. 2 frags to his name. Gucci, as he pushes in towards construction, doesn't realize that Cajun is already rotated in time.
Don't need to take these fights, but JR somehow going to dink down Nico and now turns his attention back here towards Ruin. So much damage being done by the Vega Squadron boys. And once again, Tony Black and JR putting up the numbers. I think every single one of them, JR having an assist on as well. It felt like dinking down so many players there with the Glock. It's going to be them winning out the pistol. Now tying things up 8 to 8 here in this 2nd half. And a chance for Vega to move into the lead. This was 7-1 in favor of OpTic at one point in time. And now it's all tied up at 8-8.
Yeah. But again, credit to Vega. I mean, at least they're making adaptations to how they were playing. They figured out that what they were doing to start things off obviously wasn't panning out. Made some changes to it. We saw some aggression, you know, on both ends of the bomb sites, really. Either if it was JR and Abs or Hoochie or Crush being aggressive towards A-Abs. It made OpTic uncomfortable. Finally, Config is going to get the better of one of these banana trades. Finds Crush. And actually gets out without taking too much damage either. Nice little get for the Danish star player right there. Remains to be seen how Vega actually opts to play these situations out, and that's a nice little boost. Definitely an angle Chopper's not expecting. Config once again being precise.
This is a scary round for Vega, not one that they should be giving up, but oh, Snappy, he does spot the head of JR. Lady Black in the meantime on this flank round now in towards CT spawn, although maybe Vega's starting to anticipate that this could maybe be a B bomb site stack as Tony's starting to clear out this position. They have to be very aware because Nico, who currently sits over here towards Boiler, hasn't been cleared out. He's going to hear those footsteps away. Snappy now finding Tony Black inside a CT spawn. And for Vega, this round looking like it could very easily slip through their fingers and see OpTic maintain the lead as they start to creep one in. Snappy is going to fall, but here's Config. With that Deagle, there's his third kill, and he's looking for a little bit more. JR going to offer himself up, and Config clearly going to be feeling it with the Deagle. That will be him showing what he's got when he isn't getting AWPed by JR. So they do manage to stay in the lead, 9-8. OpTic stealing that second round straight back.
That's very much needed as well. Config probably getting a confidence booster out of that as well. But much like we saw OpTic kind of fumble around once they go down a man, Vega are no different in that sense. That's, a prime display of indecision. They already have one player up all the way around, wrapped towards Arts. They have the bomb pretty much just going up and down middle, not really knowing what to do with himself. Just nobody really taking any charge and telling them, this is what we need to do and we need to be quick about it. So they need to talk things over. You definitely don't want to let OpTic get back into it this way.
No, certainly not. I mean, his config starting to get warmed up. That's something that is perhaps a little bit scary. The promise that this man, we haven't even really seen him have to do anything just yet. And JR's kind of been cancelling him out. It doesn't really feel like we got to see too much from config. Now, Vega force buying into this round. Going to try and do the dirty to OpTic Gaming and steal around back as they're hoping to trade back and forth, blow for blow, as it were.
One of the things that Vega struggled with a lot was aggressive play against them. So whenever the CT side was being disrupted, that's when they really lost footing in the game on their T side. And something that Energy in their matchup actually went away from eventually once Ethan started to lose out a couple of duels in Banana and whatnot. We'll see if OpTic, if they're going to be relentless with their aggression or not. In this case, they've grabbed Banana control early, and they have Snappy as a sole defender over towards B. They do also have, I think it's Config, yeah, on a bit of a half-ray rotation over towards A initially. Problem for OpTic right now is that 50 seconds left of the round, they don't have a single smoke to their name at this point. They have a lot of flashes. They have one Molotov on Nico over towards A. But outside of that, nothing really to block the vision away from Vega as they creep up closer and closer towards the Z bomb site.
And here comes this push. Nico with this one, and Sindri goes ahead, throws it out towards short, trying to buy as much time as he can. And you can see it has halted Vega on the other side. They're trapped, waiting for those flames to dissipate, and now they start to edge their way forward. Pressure's on for Yugi, Cajun, and Nico. Frags go left and right for Cajun B. Inside of this bomb site, doing the damage. Crush going to find himself a double with the Deeg, and Yugi gets wrapped onto as well. Somehow, it's all fallen onto Snappy. It's all fallen apart here for OpTic, and now he's going to try and pull off the 1v2, but there's the first, and Snappy tagging up Crush as well. Time ticking down, and he's going to finish them both off, so that will be OpTic stealing their 10th away. It comes down to the wire, but on the back of the heroics of this man on the screen right now, they will be reaching double digits on this CT side.
Well, surprised actually to see this big of a gap in terms of odds here. OpTic's still very heavily favored to win, and I mean, I wouldn't be convinced by any team at this point with how they're playing. It's just very in the moment kind of a thing that decides everything for them because they're not making too good of a decision. I mean, for OpTic in that round, they should be winning that out so much easier than what they end up doing. They get down the one Molotov to halt the push coming out of quad side. They have a flash for it as well. I think it's Yugi who plays too passively to actually go off of that first flash in towards quad. That could have very easily led to an opening. Instead, they sit down on the site that gets slowly pinched in on. Things kind of spiral. So they lose 4 players. I mean, they won the round, but it's going to cost them. And once we see Vega eventually get into that buy, it could be very tough for them. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see some shenanigans coming out of Vega. It would be very Vega-esque. There we go. Deagles, AKs, and whatnot spread around across the team. And last round, we saw OpTic using a lot of their utility early, even though they were somewhat limited to what they had at their disposal. They didn't have too much to hold back a lot of the Vega squad once they made their push towards the A-bomb side. And that could be the case again. We'll see how much pressure Vega is able to actually apply early on.
Well, that deep smoke from Config down here towards the base of Banana. Certainly making that early pressure harder, but Chopper getting out of best Config man advantage. Secured early on for Vega Squadron, and now Snappy looking to try and pick up the mantle. Where his teammate fell. Backs away for the time being. Vega now looking like they might just collapse in towards this A-bomb site. You can already see Cajun B very preemptively starts this rotation round. He's already in CT spawn. Vega with 40 seconds left, looking to try and execute in towards this A-bomb site, throwing out the smokes and flashes to make these angles a little bit more awkward for OpTic. Now Yugi on this MP5 has to go ahead and absolutely just destroy Vega. That's what he's going to do. He shows up in spades. JR's left in a 1v3. And this round somehow going to be stripped away from Vega Squadron. That will be 11-8.
For a player who hasn't made much of a mark on this game outside of 2 wall banks, Yugi definitely opts in at the right time. 3 massive kills in Archway there. If he goes down, that's pretty much round over. And I mean, that would have been a pretty big swing as well. Not a whole lot of cash left in the bank of OpTic at that point. Here you see finding 3. Still surviving with a comfortable amount of HP as well. That might be what sets these 2 teams apart. JR pushing aggressively, not actually being spotted by Snappy. JR is going to run out into the open though, so that gives actually Config the opportunity to trade. You take those if you're Vega. Only bought into it with a couple of ZZs, a Deagle, and P250s. No armor to speak of. Nice shooting gallery from Config right there. Ooh. Continues it as well. Bomb down.
This is the ace potentially from Config.
Looking for it. Gucci is definitely inviting him.
I think it's no, he's going to get stolen or he's going to get 1D because Config just for some reason has been pretty unfortunate. Oh, he's going to get it. There we go.
If I'm Hoochie in that situation, I'm bailing the hell out. I'm running towards A-apps.
Just to not give Config the ace?
Yeah, just don't give him the satisfaction. Yeah. You don't need a player like Config to get more confidence. Like, that's just going to... Like, when Config feels good about himself and how he's playing, he's just going to roll over teams. It doesn't matter how good you are. He has the ability to do that.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, and if you think about it, they've done such a good job of keeping him not confident. You know, keeping Config quiet.
Was really sad for him.
But getting an ace there. Might have only been up against Sequing players, but still, sometimes that's all it takes to start to get, you know, the confidence rolling.
That he does. Bird made his way into Banana. It's not going to get burned down, and Snappy is actually going to be fired down by Crush. So again, we see Vega with an opening, similar to what they had 2 rounds ago. Weren't able to make the most out of it at that point. Very tucked away in a corner. Still going to work though, as Crush and Chopper just kind of line up with each other as they try to get the trade in. JR is actually the only player over towards Banana. He has the bomb as well, which is a bit of a worry. Only thing that makes sense here from the side of Vegas if they're attempting a B split. Smoke goes down. Nice Molotov usage there from Yugi to prevent anyone from actually moving forward. The question is, though, what really is the intent for Vega right now? They're so spread out. Seems like they are gathering up towards Banana, and they actually might hit a bit of a lucky timing here. Cajun's been left alone over towards B. He's going to have a lot of work to do.
Well, he's going to go ahead and open up this B-bomb site at the very least. Config has now arrived, and he's been a real force of nature in these last few rounds. down. He sprays on through, and he is going to tag up JR. Can't quite find it. Now Hoochie trying to go ahead and pick him up on the reload. Indeed he does for Yugi and Nico. They've been locked out of this round, so a lot of that coming down to if Config could find anything and he cannot. If he stays alive, maybe we see that rotation come through. We see the 3-on-3 play out, but well, job well done from Hoochie to go ahead and pressure him there as the reload comes on in. And that's one of the risks that Config was taking with that spray. It's going to be a 9th round for Vega, seemingly from nowhere as well. It was a fantastic start from Config to find those opening 2. But JR, once again, being a menace, opening up the round, clawing Vega back into it tooth and nail. As, they won't be closing that gap that much more.
Yeah, and even though we have seen 4 rounds in a row for OpTic here, it has been involving a couple of ups and downs, so they're not going to have the most of money really to their name either. It is a bit of a worrying point for them. They're still going to be able to buy up, but you can see not a whole lot of left in the reserves, and they're actually opting for a double off, so Snappy's going to take that probably over towards Banana. As Yugi actually goes very aggressive into second mid here as well. Nearly lands that blind shot. Crush is really adamant about pushing through both, well, grenades and fire. He gets greeted with an op shot as well. There's no banana control gained from Vega Squadron at this point.
Another frag going the way of OpTic, as they needed anything else leaning their way in this round. The bomb still resides over here on Banana. Once again, it's on the back of JR. He's been the real shining star for Vega Squadron. Hoochie going to try and spot something, but will get smoked off. Up in the apartments, here is Yugi. Holding off the long angle. Smoke going to rain on him. He cancels that out nicely with the Molotov. That's going to force Chopper away. 50 seconds left, so there's still time here for the Sharky boys of Vega to switch things up. But that nade going to drop Cajun B down in the pits. Now Nico is still there, still residing over towards Mini Pit. Going to start to switch things up. It takes up the position of Cajun B. Anticipating that there should be no way they know there's a second man over in this place now. They Molotov it out. JR really going to force Nico away. They know he's here 20 seconds, but now there's that crossfire with Yugi. And between them, they're going to go to cement the round for OpTic. Fantastic stuff on their behalf. And now a 13th here for the Danes.
Also a reset in hand for Vega Squadron. And I mean, as much as they're staying in it, they are making it interesting. OpTic are getting very, very close to match point at this stage.
Yeah, that's the worrying part. You know, you go out and take the eco in this round. Suddenly you're staring down the barrel of a 14-9 scoreline in favor of OpTic. Scariest part being is that in these last, I'm going to say in this second half, really Configs came alive. He started to put up those numbers. Really didn't have a great time of things over on the T side.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of grenades to the face, and if not that, op bullets.
One thing that is concerning, even I took a look back at some of the stats from the NRG game. Vega were picking up the man advantage quite a lot, you know, a lot more than NRG did, and we're still, you know, they still obviously lost that game, right? I always find it concerning when a team is able to pick up the man advantage and then still lose the rounds.
I mean, it's the same kind of story here today, right? I mean, OpTic are barely getting opening frags for the better part of this match. I mean, JR is still 7-1 in opening duels. I think there's only 2 players on the side of Vega who are not winning out their opening duels. That's Crush and Tony, but Hoochie 3-0 so far. Chopper's hitting it 2-1. So there's not a whole lot going the way of OpTic. They constantly have to work from uphill.
Well, here's the pressure onto Yugi. Got to try and provide us with a highlight clip right now, and it's not going to happen. He does go down. So 3-on-4 regardless. It's going to be push grinding to a halt right now. Keep your eye on Config. That nuisance, that name that we've said so much, is all the way down the base of Banana. And it is looking ripe for some frags right now. He's going to lie in wait in the cubby, JR. These two have developed a bit of a rivalry. It looks like Config might finally go ahead and best the man who has sent him to the depths of defeat so many times before. JR going to go to give up that fight for the time being. 45 seconds here for Vega to try and come up with something. They do have Deeg's armor. This is actually the force as well from them, which is pretty devastating. Something I don't think we mentioned was had they gone for the eco, they could have at least had the buy in the next round, but they went for the force buy here. And that means, you know, you lose this, you're looking at 14-9, you have to eco in the next round, or just force buy till the very end of this game, essentially. Ooh, they managed to get by Snappy at least. So AK retrieved on Chopper, and now Nico, Cajun B. My goodness, what a flick from Nico inside of the pit. The bomb gets dropped. Luckily enough, it does land at the feet of Crush, but that's not enough. OpTic 14-9. And no money left for Vega Squadron. This is not a nice spot to be in.
No, indeed. And Vega, as you mentioned, yeah, the big issue right here is that they are kind of forced to take an eco. They're forcing themselves to actually allow OpTic to get into match point, unless they want to, yeah, just roll the dice and hope that pistols are going to take them back to the promised land. It's not going to be the case. Instead, it's 3 flashes on their end. Let's see what they decide to do with that, but we're going to see some aggressive peeks down mid as well from Yugi. Not opting to chuck that nade all the way down. That would have been done magnificent damage, but here we go. Up banana, Vega goes.
Oh, no, they're going to do it again. They're going to hand this man another ace. Config just getting warmed up here over towards the B-bomb site. JR, he's not he's not running back into that. Especially because I think he likes to keep the little, like, oh, I've been one-up in Config the whole time. Config hasn't done me once. So he does just go ahead and turn his attention back towards A, hoping that maybe he could have just slipped in and got that bomb down. But even that's being optimistic. So 15-9. It's match point time. As OpTic, the team to arrive at it. The buy comes in here for Vega. This was 8-1 at one point in time in favor of OpTic. We saw it go even at the start of this first half. We saw everything get tied up 8-8. But
even with the pistol round, when Vega couldn't really get off to a good start in the second half, and that's really what's been the name of the game here. Now, it's a constant struggle. They have to play perfect CS, or at least can't make more mistakes than OpTic from this point on if they want a chance to bring this into overtime.
But Yugi up in the apartments, he's looking to try and stand his ground. Config flashed away, but he's still going to go to best JR and a second as well. Snappy chiming in. Ooh, through the smoke, he goes out and shuts down Chopper. The bomb dropped at the base of Banana, and it's the top performer from yesterday, Tony Black. Left in a 1v4. He has wrapped around long. They have the bomb over on the side of OpTic, but still with 3 players over here toward A.
Probably aware of the chance of Tony Black having gone behind enemy lines, so they're taking their time playing this safe, and as you can see, we're working as a tandem down mid to join up with Snappy. Tony is going to be able to get into Banana at least, but it's going to be a tough time dealing with all of these OpTic members. Has to go pretty far to retrieve that bomb.
And Snappy has read this so well. There we go. That's the round, and that's the game. OpTic going to be closing this out 16-9. Over on their T side, getting off to a fantastic start. Things then grind to a halt for a bit. There's no knocking the green wall down as they do manage to close this one out in the second, and very convincingly at that. We saw Vega manage to pick up 2 rounds in that entire second half. So a massive turnaround there from the OpTic boys. And in particular, a big turnaround from Config. Didn't get off to the best of starts, but he starts to recover in the second half, starts to build up some of that confidence, something that's so important to this man that we always talk about. And ultimately, it's going to be an OpTic victory here. Yeah,
I mean, result-wise, pretty convincing. Play-wise, not as much. I do think they do have the benefit of a Vega. You know, they are a volatile team. They do go for force buys that don't make sense necessarily all the time. And also, you know, that you have Config warming up in the second half, and that always is going to be a big benefit for whoever has him on his team, right? But yeah, even though OpTic could come away with 69 scoreline victory, I'm not convinced by any means. I mean, this is still a bit of lukewarm performance out of them as we've seen pretty much during their entirety of their OpTic run.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that we can see a few key names within the server start to have the performances we've seen them have in the past. I think, namely for me, was Yugi. Didn't really feel like he did all that much, but yeah, I mean, he had those few good rounds early on. He was kind of the one guy who could go toe-to-toe with JR over on their T side. But, I mean, I guess at the same time, you can't really blame him. In that second half, Config was just sort of killing everyone before anyone else really got too much of a chance. For Vega, I was very impressed with what we saw from JR, but it felt like everyone else was almost completely absent.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about Chopper disappearing. I can't think of a thing Chopper did pretty much throughout that entire game, and that is worrying outside of one mid push. So yeah, that is a bit of a worry, but Vega's still not out yet.
Well, you know, you and I, we can worry about Vega all we like. We're going to sit here and do that, have a little crisis for them. But we'll throw this over to Frankie, who has the OpTic boys standing by.
And with Casper, the coach for OpTic Gaming. And your boys must have been feeling pretty confident today after that whitewash against Big. But did they risk getting a bit complacent in that middle section? Because we did see them drop quite a few rounds to Vega.
I think it's like down to individual skill on Vega's side. They had a couple of rounds where they took 2 with them in the death that kind of changed the round. So, and they had some good reads. Like they play like without fear, and we saw that whenever we wanted to be execute, they pushed behind us. So that's Vega for you, and you can prepare as much as you want. But sometimes they just feel the flow of the game, and they're one of the best at doing it. So I'm pretty satisfied with how things went.
This is a fairly new roster, your OpTic Danish lineup. So what do you think really brings these guys together and makes them one to watch?
I think like our skill ceiling is like up there among the best. I know it's like a cliche saying that, but we know it. Like we know what we can do, but we also know like our lows at the moment are too low, and that's what we have been trying to fix. And so far so good. Like we haven't lost like in the same way we have been doing like the previous months, which has been like heartbreaking in some clutch rounds. And but for now at least we have turned it around, and I'm happy to see how it continues in this tournament.
One of the things we did notice in that game was the thing that Vega did top your guys on was the opening frag situation. Your boys were rarely getting them in. Is that something you're going to be working on for tomorrow?
I think we made some like mistakes because JR is an AWPer who plays like very versatile and different than other AWPers. So it's the same like when we play some, I think it was somebody from Tyloo on Inferno as well, like the unorthodox banana AWPing. And that's something we need to adjust to like when we get home and watch the demos, because we know we have the answer to it. We just didn't like think about it like during the games, and it's a small fix, and I think we'll be good.
Well, fingers crossed for you guys tomorrow. You just need one more win before you are in that top 8, so good luck. Now for you guys, we want to know who you think is going to win the next matchup. It's going to be North versus Gambit, so get your predictions into Twitch chat now, because we need to head back to the desk.
Well, the green wall did stand strong against the Sharks after all, but you got to say, at least from Vega's point of view, right? It wasn't completely getting blown out. At the beginning, it certainly looked like they might have been completely shut down out of the map.
Yeah, I was surprised when the scoreline was 7-2 and they were able to hold on to that low buy situation. They had like an MP9, they had obviously some rifles, but the fact they were able to build, I think it was 4 gun rounds on the trot, that they were able to like not just get blown out, because that's the hardest point in a half, right? If you're the CTs and you start to re-establish your economy in the middle of a half and you lose 1 round, you get broken, and then it's pretty much game over at that point. So I was impressed with that, and then I think that it's Config beating them at their own game. That Deagle round on the second round, the second half, that was enough to just be like, okay, well, sorry, Vega, we can also be individually strong and win rounds that we shouldn't, and that was the game for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think that second round, and then the third round was Snappy won the 1-on-2. That was the pivotal turning points of the match, because Vega doesn't have enough on their T-side Inferno to grind back into a low economy half of T-side Inferno. They need to be front running on their T-side Inferno, and obviously those 2 rounds were huge swing rounds.
You could say, I think it was the round that was going to be round for 15 on the board for OpTic, and they were going up against Vega, who were on pretty much a full eco. Like at that point, it's just going to be a matter of time until OpTic have won the game, because they're on the CT side, right? And as Sean just alluded to, we don't look at Vega as being a hugely strategical squad in terms of taking map control, making the right decisions, etc. They're more going to go with ballsy plays, and eventually a ballsy play isn't going to work, right? And when you had such a big lead as OpTic, as soon as you'd hit 15, now you can take risks, right? And that's something that these guys aren't afraid to do, especially with Config on the team, who has some of the biggest balls in the Counter-Strike scene when it comes to doing the risque plays, right? We've seen him in the past, that knife round at the major so long ago now, where he decided to knife in the 1v1. I think you know, that kind of attests to his personality, his play style, his type. But here's a sign. It's not a good sign for Vega, but here's a thing that I think is good for CIS in the long run. The more events that we see these guys at, the more of an opportunity they get given to start playing a more well-rounded game of Counter-Strike, similar to a Tyloo, right? they have their own style, they have their own identity, but it's like a splash in a pan type thing, right? It's going to work every once in a while because teams either forget how to play against it or they aren't ready for that style. Whereas if they want to be a legitimate contender competing at events or at least within the top 15, they have to play more at a more standard style of CS.
Especially when you watch a map like Inferno
Yes.
on Ravel, right? You watch all the other teams, they have excellent smoke timings, molly timings, flash peaks on Banana, utility usage like HE nades on Banana. But when you watch Vega, you don't get any of that. And that's probably why coming into this match, they had won only 14% of those maps. I mean, obviously, that's a huge problem when your star play on your other maps, Chopper, is MIA yet again. They just need to reevaluate how they approach this particular map. And I think they need to add other maps into their map pool.
Yep, I agree with that.
That's a huge problem for this team right now.
Now, we did still manage to see at least Config and Cajun B play up to form as we want to see more of them.
Yep.
But Chopper was the biggest drop-off, right, out of all of it. And the one that we keep saying Vega needs to be able to kind of bring these rounds to an end.
There are certain players, and I'm sure we've all played with them over the years, or it's probably been noted, more so known within like certain regions, where a player just doesn't like a map or can't get activated on a map, right? A map like Inferno doesn't allow much freedom. So a player like Chopper who wants to make individual plays, he needs to be set up for those plays, or he needs to be allowed to be in a position where he is doing more of a flanking lurker role, like, going either getting banana control established by his teammates, then him being left there to go for a pick when he feels like it, or playing apps, going halls and going for a pick on your own accord or when a rotation's coming in, which isn't what he's known for. He's known for kind of just peeking out and getting 2 crisp headshots. The choke points are a lot harder. It's not as easy to get map control. You're going to cop nade damage. We saw a lot of nade damage coming out, where it looked like anyway from the OpTic guys on their CT side. I think Snappy on the secondary AWP too, I'm glad that it was him and not Config. Here's the thing. I think Config can AWP very well. Like, definitely, there's no doubt about it. But don't take your best rifler and put him on an AWP. So that's positive signs that we saw Snappy doing secondary AWPing. I don't even think it's necessary on Inferno, but it's good. It's just good that it wasn't Config.
I think going back to the most important thing you said there is people that are bad on a particular map. I think we need a vocabulary word for this.
Yeah?
In the Counter-Strike scene.
Okay.
So maybe we should ask
Let's brainstorm
for
something.
requests. Send your tweets to @Sponge.
There has to for being bad on a particular map.
Yes.
There has to be something like being void of something, or being maybe like allergic to a map. Maybe
The Inferno allergy.
there's something along those lines, something that we can be catchy and we can use as a bit of a buzzword. But yeah, Config. Look, he didn't have one of those strong starts, but he's one of those players that he can win you 3 or 4 rounds in a game just on his own, right? And that's by 3 or 4 rounds with the frags, and then the trickle-on effect of forcing teams onto ecos or low buys. If you look at his impact in a game throughout like a stretch, I'm not talking sporadically, like maybe an AWP will get a kill here, get a kill there, and it will lead to round wins and economy being taken control of. I think Config is really good at doing it in stretches, like 5 to 6 rounds.
Yeah, he gets a lot of multi-kills, and they come in quick succession, like the 2 eco rounds, where he had the M4 versus the eco, and then obviously the deco round.
Yep.
He gets a lot of multi-kill rounds, which are super impactful, obviously.
Come to me.
What is it? What do you
Their
got?
Slack map.
Black map.
Yeah. Look,
I think we might go to do better.
We can workshop it.
I
Look,
want
I'm not saying no. But we'll work. I'll write it down. It's
I
in the
want to
world
get
cloud.
derogatory with this.
Oh, you think so?
Yes.
Derogatory.
Okay.
I think
But
Twitter can definitely help us out here.
has to be PG.
Yeah.
Derogatory, but PG.
Yes.
Or maybe like an
Fringe.
M, like an M, not an MA15 plus.
Yes.
Just like for mature audiences.
Yeah, that can work.
'Cause it is
CS,
Counter-Strike.
it's CS.
Yeah.
We got guns, we got blood. It's in there.
Yeah. No R18s.
Okay.
Let's keep it away from that. We've already talked about adult entertainment today a few times.
Don't need to go back there.
Definitely not.
Well, not right now. What's the time? Couple more hours.
Yeah. When we're after Watershed, maybe then it's successful. Maybe you end the show with something like that. We can go with it. OpTic, though, do we at least see glimmers of hope now for them coming off the back of this? Like, they didn't get upset, they didn't get surprised by
They
it.
definitely look good on
handled it.
Inferno. I don't know. Their T-side overpass, I've yet to see something that leads me to believe they can play that map on T-side. Their CT side, very good. Their Inferno looks like a full package now, which
Yeah.
at the major it wasn't. They had a lot of executes. They had a lot of pit smoke strats, B executes. Nothing was working for them at the major. This is a lot better, actually. They're able to string together rounds on T-side. I don't know.
It
Things
felt like
looking good.
It felt like they were playing more to their strengths as well.
Yes.
And now that we look at this in the 2-1 pool, which is where OpTic will be finding themselves,
Yep.
we have Frags, Imperial, RNG, and Mousesport. So if OpTic get Renegades, they should be seeing themselves in the playoffs. I think, no offense to Renegades, but I think OpTic probably have more firepower.
Fragster's nice Danish.
Oh yeah,
map.
That'd be
Fragsters
nice,
as well,
yeah.
Yeah, I like the Fragsters guys because I think that they're
I like it too.
the up and comers, right? And that's a real cool thing. Same with Imperial. That's why I like this tournament because there's so many teams who are either like at a level where we expect them to do well, and they're either going to fail here or they're going to show us they can do it, or they're these teams who are in the proving stages, and it's a great way to like see where they're headed because Fragsters have actually played a couple DreamHack Opens.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool thing that now they're getting if they've proved themselves enough, they get a bigger opportunity. And I think that's a great storyline.
They've certainly got good organisation behind them. You see them, this is like the second event I've seen them live here. They've always got the support and stuff they need, so it's good to see the up-and-coming young guns here. But that is us done for this part of the segment, and you can always head over to CS Money, open your cases. You can even choose to sell to determine what you win. Always something you want to try and do if you want to open them cases. But next up is a game that we have seen so many times, but it's a new North lineup taking on the same gambit that we all love and know. Don't go anywhere, come back for that one. We're going to a quick break and we'll see you then.
Loot Bet. With Hellcase multi-cases, you are no longer restricted by random case opening mechanisms. Now, you are able to pick any of the cells containing skins and actually determine what you win. Use the promo code and dive right in.
I'm a soldier, I'm a fighter.